you getting yourself ready for our show?
Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of Jigs and Bigs. Joe and I wet some lines and visited the Northeast Swimbait Expo this week, while Sean continued his season prep. And just the tip this week, we're revisiting Versatility. And bait of the week, we have info on some blade baits. Chronic Trips tourney is open for registration, and more is coming. We've got all sorts of March madness, so grab a drink, hold tight. Jigs and Bigs is posting up on your asses. Get yourself something to enjoy. We'll be back right after this. We got jig head action all over the place. We got Lauren joining us saying, good evening, gentlemen. We got Cheryl Bentley joining us, says, hey, guys, looking forward to a good show. You know what, Cheryl? So am I.
So am I.
We've got a good one for you. Binio Outdoors is with us. He says he's recovering from yesterday. It was cold as hell. He got on some Lakers. If you want to drop some details in the comments, Binya, we'd love to talk about that. And he sent some pics over of some of the Lakers that they were catching. And I'm a little bit jealous, to tell you the truth. I'm a little bit jealous. I got freaking skunked significantly. But before we go any further, I want to jump in and do a little bit of housekeeping here. It's just some stuff that you guys need to know about. First and foremost, if you love Jigs and Bigs, you're listening to this show and you're like, God, I love these three sons of bitches. How can I, represent this appreciation I have for them and all of the tomfoolery they give to me on a 7-day window? You can do so simply by grabbing some Jigs and Bigs merch. You can do so at jigsandbigs.com. Our store's right there. In fact, we just launched a brand new shirt. We've got info about that coming up. You can also follow us on all of our social media. We're doing a lot on Instagram. Instagram is probably where we're most active, and then immediately following that is our Facebook page. Just search Jigs and Bigs for both of those, and of course, you can follow all of our individual profiles and everything and be a part of it. And then finally, reviews. Reviews and ratings are huge for any podcast, really. What we can do for what we would appreciate from you is, if you're listening on Apple Podcast, throw a review together and a rating. Give us a star rating, and if you have a few words of encouragement or even constructive criticisms, we're open to that as well. Go ahead and let us know what you think of the show on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a star rating on Spotify as well. You don't even have to be following us on Spotify, though you should do that as well. There's hundreds of you that do, and we appreciate you and love you all. If you're uninitiated and don't know, I am Bobby Roastbeef, and I'm joined here with Sean the Fisherman and Who the Fuck is Joe Brown. We have a hell of a show for you this week, guys. Gentlemen, how are you guys this week? How's everything going?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, we're hanging in there.
I'm all right. We're doing okay. We're ready to pick some shit up here and run with it. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Lauren chimes in. She says, Joe is looking like Rudy tonight. And
Binya, nice feathery hair going on tonight.
That's what it is.
Thanks, Lauren.
Binya chimes in. He says his conditions when he was out on the water, he goes 37-degree water. My dumb ass thought I would find smallmouth, and I was very wrong. So he changed gears and trolled jerkbaits for Lakers instead. Hey, man, that's what I call turning shit into ice cream. That's the name of the game. You got to roll with it. It was kind of an interesting week. I'm going to go kind of through my week sort of chronologically. After I put the show together and edited that, got everything all set up, I am recovering from probably one of the nastiest little head and chest colds that I've had in a while. You guys can probably still hear some of it. I don't love it. But I did something finally that I've repeatedly been putting on the back burner, and it's because I'm a lazy ass. We released finally the Ditch Pickle Tickler shirt. Released it for you guys. That is the wrong button. That's the button that we wanted. The Ditch Pickle Tickler shirt, of course, is, you guys might remember, I think it actually originated with a conversation with Ken Wood, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was Ken who talked about, we were discussing measuring your catches for catch photo release. And he mentioned kind of applying a little stimulation to the anal fin of the catch while it's on the board and it relaxing. And of course, you can't say something like that to the individuals that are on this live stream right now, recording this podcast, and not have them carry that directly into the gutter, which is exactly what happened.
Let's be honest. It wasn't the anal fin. It was straight up the anus.
It was the straight up butthole. Yeah. Which I mean,
butthole.
Yeah. So it was interesting. We took that and kind of ran with it. We kind of talked about it on the show, but then Mike Mariani, who is a regular at, he's a jighead, but he's also a regular at a couple of my trivia nights, decided to make Ditch Pickle Tickler his team name. And this is like a year ago. And I was just like, that needs a t-shirt, man. We got to do something. So found an artist a while ago, which if there was one good thing that came out of that relationship with this one artist, it's this one design. Holy shit. And it's a doozy. It is an absolute doozy. I threw it out on Instagram. I put a reel together with, a bunch of the stock photos with models wearing the shirt. And the reaction is nothing short of legendary. People really, really seem to be into this. You sick sons of bitches. And we're gonna run with it and have a good time with it. Cheryl's chiming in here. She says, that didn't work too great for me, though. I tried.
You gotta work on that technique, Cheryl. It works.
Yeah.
It works. I mean,
seen it in action.
Practiced it.
We're voyeurs.
So, I mean, that for me was like one of the probably the biggest accomplishment of the week overall. And then, I had gotten out a couple of times to fish here and there, all fruitless. This has been a weird ass week for weather. You remember last week's show, we initially started talking about it. I think I got out on Monday for an hour or two, and it was absolutely fruitless. And that was just before the big cold front hit, and then we got dumped on with a bunch of snow, heavy heart attack snow that more than I expected that we would get locally. And within, I think, 36 hours, it had basically all but melted.
Yep.
For the most part. Up on Mount Tom, there's still some snow. Like if you look, when you're on 91, if you're driving by and you see it, yeah, there's still snow up there. But locally, yeah, it all kind of started melting. And the temps kind of came back up to like that low 40s. And then Friday, we actually hit 50 for a little bit, which is kind of nice. I had gotten out on Friday, nothing. I think I spent 3 hours on Friday, just kind of diving into one spot, see if I could get a bite. Nothing at all. And I threw the kitchen sink at him too. Like I went, obviously for all the short list of regular suspects for that cold water bite. And then I got cute with some other stuff too to see what we could get on, and absolutely nothing whatsoever. And all this week I was looking forward to going out to the Northeast Swimbait Expo in Sturbridge, and part of that was because I could see Spence from Berkshire Bass, who had his booth set up, so I could get a whole bunch of mag drafts, and that's what I did. I got 3. I got this one was a recommendation, this color right here. This is an albino pearl shad. This is a recommendation by Spencer himself. And I think, Joe, this is a color that you've got, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then, you know how I am. Your boy loves to go, when in doubt, go as natural as you can. We have a lot of stocked waters around here, so a nice rainbow trout pattern is the move. This is what they call the stealth trout. Looks awesome. And I was looking around at this and checking out the magnet. And for those that aren't didn't really maybe understand from what we were talking about in the show, the reason why this is called the mag draft is because it's got this magnet in the belly that holds this treble hook. This treble hook is on a swivel, which is awesome because this is not a light bait, so it can be thrown pretty easy. Having that swivel there helps it kind of the hook stay in their mouth. But yeah, this magnet just holds right up in place. On the 6-inch, it's actually got a little bit of space that's cut away where that hook kind of like nestles in to the plastic a little bit. And of course, in the 6-inch, I had to get the yellow perch pattern. which is just absolutely awesome. And Friday, Sean the Fisherman delivered a Castaic yellow perch pattern swimbait, big ass 8-inch one as well. So I'm ready to go. Looking forward to it. Then Paul and I we hit 4 bodies of water. The first 2 we hit were local, right nearby the show. And then we decided we go and we're like, look, hey, let's just go fill our face. Let's go to the clam box. It sounds like a plan. Yeah. So we had lunch at the clam box. Clam box, awesome. Made a believer out of Pavlik. And so we had a good lunch, if nothing else. And then we went back, and on our way back, we stopped by this one spot where I have had really, really good luck catching sizable pickerel, like fun pickerel to catch, and knowing that a little colder water, they're a little bit more active, would not be the case over there. Water was really low in that area, but there was grass like already kind of like live, like really bright green grass. Crazy, like up shallow, super, super shallow. And so we threw a bunch of baits over there, not even a nibble. Hit up our one of our local honey holes over here, kind of knowing like nothing was going to come of it. I did get a tap on a jerkbait over there. But other than that, that was pretty much it for me. What about you guys?
Joe, you got some fishing in, didn't you?
Yeah, I got so I wouldn't call it so much fishing. I went out. So I also went to the Swimbait Expo. And Bobby and I'll probably get a little deeper into that, but we went there again. The only reason where I really went there is I want to grab a couple things from Spence as well. Yep. So I went and chatted with him. It was kind of it being local. I felt like I was being stopped by every other person, just chatting, whatever, which I like. It was fine.
Oh yeah.
But after that, I did go to a local body of water where I knew chances are I had absolutely zero chance of getting any type of bites. All I threw was that 6-inch mag draft because I know they're very, it's a very not finesse as in what we talk about, but it's a very particular way of retrieving those baits. So I kind of wanted to get that down before I actually get on the boat and whatnot. No, so that's basically all I did for fishing. I brought the twins with me, let them throw a Ned rig out and catch a bunch of, branches and trees and shit. But, I did that. And it was one of those ones that this year I'm like, no, I'm not getting you untangled. You're doing it yourself. So there's a lot of frustration from them, but they got to learn. I did that. I feel like I'm comfortable throwing that 6-inch mag draft now. So I'm excited to throw that, when I get out on the water on the boat. But other than that, it was I was supposed to pick up the boat this weekend. I'd mentioned that earlier before we went live, but I stored in a heated warehouse up actually by Cabela in North by Cabela's.
Oh, all right.
And I reached out to the gentleman, and unfortunately his mom passed away in Colorado.
Oh,
so
all right.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I can get someone to get there, and like, I was like, no. I was like, I don't need it right now. I was like, just he's supposed to be back in like 5 days. I was like, just hit me up when you get back, and we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it. Just finished getting all my stuff together. It's in the garage stage, ready to go on the boat, and that's about it.
Nice.
You guys did more fishing than I did. I'm in prep mode, and I had a couple follow-up things happen, but I have right now, if you walk into my house, the dining room table in front, I laid a sheet over it, and it is completely covered in all the shit that I have to fit into my tackle bag and all my plastics bags. So I'm going to be hopefully working on that this week. Of note, I did get a little trip down to Bar Taco.
Oh,
today.
Good old Bar Taco.
Bobby, I discovered something. Should we decide to Bar Taco it up again at any point in the future?
All right.
We are doing it on a Sunday as they open.
Oh.
There were for a solid 20 minutes from 11 to 11:20, maybe 11:30, there were no more than 10 people in that restaurant.
Oh,
the food came out quick.
Yep.
It was because we've gone there, and we've we've talked quite a bit about Bar Taco on the show and the food, but it's always packed. And
every time I've gone, it's been packed.
Yeah, kitchens are not magic places. They are magic places, but not in magic where time can be defied when cooking food properly.
Yeah.
So we ate a ton of food today. So I met Lauren and Derek down there.
Nice.
And the reason for this was twofold. So I helped out Three Bells. I helped out Three Bells with a rather nasty task in between the two show seasons.
Yep.
And the deal was made for some bar taco afterwards. So that was number one. Number two, as I mentioned last week or the week before, whenever I mentioned it, I was waiting on a part for my boat. I was waiting on the transducer mount pole for my forward facing sonar. So I have to hook that all up. I got it. They passed it off today. Said, here you go, Sean. I said, thank you. And then we ate bar taco and plotted and planned for the rest of the season. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Three Bells has some saltwater events coming up. We will sure to be talking about one of which I had some fun helping name. So we're going to get more into that.
All right.
Down the road. It's not important right now, but yeah, if you're interested in having a little bit of fun in the salt in the summer, keep your ears tuned to Jigs and Bigs. We got some Three Bells info for you.
Nice.
I got 2 follow-ups, and then I've got something to possibly get angry at, but I can't super get angry about it. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
So I mentioned last week that my son and I were fucking on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
And this morning I heard Jim Cornette's new podcast, and they did mention it. Unfortunately, my name didn't get mentioned, but that's not a big deal. The fact that I made Jim Cornette chuckle on air, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy.
I was bucket list checked right there.
I was talking with my brother about it. Yeah, and I said, so that's twice in my life I've made any sort of celebrity laugh personally. Yep. Jim Cornette is the latest, but I think did I talk about this on the show when I think I told you, Joe, about the USO show I had on one of my tours of duty.
Kind of rings a bell.
Okay, so
it does ring a bell. I don't remember who it was though.
It was Drew Carey's version of Whose Line Is It Anyways, which did bring some of the classic characters back, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
So there was a crowd participation part, and Greg Proops was doing the narrating. We all remember Greg from the
Greg's awesome.
Original, the British version. He was an American guy, was on the British version, and he was doing this crowd participation part, and they needed 2 body parts. Now, we're in uniform. Even though it's the desert, we're supposed to be letting loose a little bit, right? People were scared to say things. I was not.
Of course not. No.
He's like, I need 2 body parts. Crowd participation. You hear people going foot, hand, back.
And you're like,
I as loud as I could yell, taint. So I yelled taint.
Ass.
Yeah, I yelled taint, and there's quiet. And then people start laughing after Greg turns to Drew Carey and goes, that dude out there said taint. I haven't said taint in like 10 years. So I got worked into the bit. And afterwards, there was a meet and greet. They were handing out 5x7s. You could get them signed and everything. And I went up to Greg and I said, hey, I'm your taint guy. Had a nice conversation with Greg Proops about a taint in the middle of the desert in fucking whatever it was, I don't know, early 2000s. So yeah, but to get them to stop the show because I yelled out taint was fucking phenomenal. But so all I got to say is that was a cool mention that I made Jim Cornette and his co-host laugh. And
how many E9s gave you the death stare after that?
Oh, dude, there were officers there. I got a lot of death stares. And I didn't have a lot of rank on my arm at that point. That was a ballsy gambit right there. And it paid off. If I know this is completely off topic, but if anybody, particularly guys our age, like to listen to wrestling podcasts, Jim Cornette's a historian. It's amazing the stuff that he knows because he loves it the way we love fishing. You know what I mean? So get out there and check out Jim Cornette if you're into the wrestling stuff. I do have another follow up.
Yep.
So this we'll file this in the category of spoke too soon. After we talked about the lead law stuff last week, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
The fucking day after I got an email that the show hadn't even dropped. I got an email from the contact I had at the Fish and Wildlife Department, and they clarified it a little bit and actually sent pictures, which was really nice.
That's way more helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out, so it's not just a jig head with a little bit of dressing on it is legal. what the definition of a lure versus a jig head is it has to have a blade or an arm with it. So a chatterbait and a spinnerbait and an underspin, for example, are considered lures. A regular jig head attached to a plastic or a crappie jig with some bucktail on is not, and those must be lead free in the state. What I didn't ask was, and a follow-up is, what about concealed jig heads? So like tubes.
Oh yeah.
Or does that fall under jig head? Because, the point of this law is to keep loons from eating these things. If the tube falls off or disintegrates in the water and you're left with a jig head, is that, I don't know. So, I'll do more research on that, but just wanted to clarify for everybody. That was the word, the word on the street, as they say. Of course, I got it a day after we recorded, and I got very passionate about it, and fucking here we go again.
I got some tungsten in my trunk if you need some.
It's in my white van. Come on in. The only other thing I have, and I wanted,
we talked here about comes this. The fuzz.
Yeah. Never mind that tungsten. I've got an alloy bismuth tin. Come on, fucking ever huff this shit? The last thing we talked about before we in our little pre-production meeting here that was going to be filed under FTG, but I didn't have enough evidence, enough hard evidence, but my eyebrow was raised. I went over my bridge near me by the bridge, the one I own. I went over a bridge near me over the Connecticut River, and I saw someone in what appeared to be a recreational kayak, right, on Friday because of the warm temperatures. And I cannot verify what they were wearing or if they were following PFD laws, but I raised an eyebrow because they were just too far away. So I would have loved to have brought this up and made this an FTG, but I didn't have the evidence. Although
nothing concrete to be able. I understand that. Chances
are, based on what we've seen over the years in our area, that fucker was probably wearing, jeans, a sweatshirt, no PFD, and possibly some, was probably had fucking a belt made of lead on at this point. That's where people are at. So that was my week. Oh, and you know what? One last thing. I did stop at Cabela's on the way back from from Bar Taco today. And this is where it pays off to know your products, folks. I wanted to buy a certain kind of tackle box. Yeah. There's a size I buy. It doesn't matter because it's fucking, I don't care what people buy for tackle boxes, but I usually buy the Flambeau waterproof tuft-tainers, and the size I buy is the waterproof WP 5005. Yep. Those fit. I can fit 6 of those perfectly into the Feel Free box that I have, the Feel Free tackle crate or whatever the hell they call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love those. Yeah, and I love the waterproof aspect of it, even though I really don't need it anymore because of that Feel Free box. I went to Cabela's and they had 3 larger sizes: the 5005, the 5001, and another one.
Yeah.
Hanging on the rack. And the 5001 is deeper. It's like 2+ inches deep, but it's the same size.
Oh, gotcha.
The other dimensions are the same size as the 5001. And I've said before that 5001, I like it because it's got, shall we call them, 4 horizontal rows, but then there's one space that's blocked off that you can put spinnerbaits in. If you just cut it, it can be managed a little better. And, I didn't want this deeper box. I wanted the 2 5005s, and the 5001 had a $19.99 price tag on it. And I'm like, there's no way that these smaller boxes that take, use less plastic are going to be more expensive.
Exactly.
They're not as deep. So I said, well, I'll bring it up to the register. Of course, today's Sunday. It's starting to get warm out. Every register had 20 people in it. I'm like, oh shit. I couldn't find one of those price scan things, and I didn't see anybody with a scanner. So I just went up front and said, I'm going to risk it. And I got there and I saw the price on the box, and they rang up as even though the UPC was correct, that rang up in the thing, the price was off. It was $19.99. I said, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's absolutely fucking no way.
These are those like the gray smoky tuft-tainers, the blue handles. Yeah.
The blue handles and the blue gaskets.
Yep. Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, I again, the deeper ones, yes. Yeah, but the other ones should have been around like $12 to $15. Yep. I mean, it's Cabela's, probably be $15.
Yeah.
But I had a gift card. I had to buy some line, which I'll get into in a second. I made a little discovery about that. And I'm sitting there going, okay, it's ringing up as 5005. I looked at the UPC. That's ringing up too. Then I said, I'm not buying these. I just bought the line and left, went to my car, brought up Cabela's.com.
Yep.
They were ringing up as $19.99. So that's system wide. So if you're looking to buy those, either complain or don't buy them from Cabela's. No offense to Cabela's, but your price is wrong on this item, folks. Kind of a niche thing that I like, but whatever. And then I looked it up. I just typed in a search for WP 5005 and they all came up anywhere from $10 to $15. So something was wrong in Cabela's system. Actually the cheapest place I found them, here's a good tip. Cheapest place I found them was, $10 or $11 from Walmart. The shipping was $6, but if you fucking buy enough of them, you're going to be covered. Like I'm planning on buying, I think 6, whatever.
Yeah.
To finish this rant about Cabela's pricing and actually end it on a high note. Did I ever tell you the other type of fluorocarbon I've used in my life that I trust besides Invisex?
Besides Invisex? I think you've mentioned it.
The Bass Pro XPS.
See, I like XPS.
I did.
Yeah.
But there was an issue with it is that it wasn't precision spooled. So that lends itself to deformities in the line. And I said, I'm going to pony up for the Cabela's or for the Invisex.
Yeah.
Well, I just on a whim took a peek at one of the spools at XPS today.
Yep.
And I needed 20 pound and I bought a 200-yard spool of it because it is now precision wound.
Oh, really?
That was the only flaw. So that I might be switching over because it is cheaper significantly.
Yeah, it is.
So there's
a
tip for folks.
There is a lot of people talk about the Bass Pro brand of everything. And I mean, obviously, like they're not churning out their own products of everything. I mean, they have their brands on stuff, but I would be curious, like, what do you think? Who do you think is the actual manufacturer of that? Because I'm sure they're just buying it in bulk and then putting their labels on it.
I thought fluorocarbon, and I might be wrong on this, but I thought fluorocarbon was similar to batteries where there's only so many factories in the world that make them. And the specifications are,
like to
a little bit off here
how
and there,
they order it.
Yeah, but it's the same people making it.
Yeah.
So that's my understanding. I might be wrong on that. I don't know. But again, all the specs for between the Bass Pro shops and the Invisex are so close.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was worried about was precision spooling because I've seen that shit really, bunch up in spots. It sucks.
Yeah,
you can feel it sometimes. And whether it's mono or fluoro, all I buy now is precision wound stuff.
Yep.
It's more consistent. And now that the XPS is precision wound,
why not?
I'm going to give it a real run this year and see what's going on.
I remember the last time I spooled the reel that I use on my Froggen combo. I use 50-pound braid because up here, our heavy cover is different than it is down south. You know what I mean? 50
for the most part, yes.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm only going to throw 65 if I have to. Like I'll re-spool if I need to, for that. But 50 for the most part, I've never had an issue with. So that's what I like. And I think it was actually the trip. I think it was the trip to Maryland. Actually, Delirious and I stopped at a Bass Pro on the way down. Risked our lives in
Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Risked our lives. And I stopped and I'm like, I need some 50-pound braid. And I was looking at, to me, I feel like braid's almost kind of just braid. Like it, I know that there's different types of braid. There's different counts of strands. Some are smoother than others, things like that. But generally, as far as like reliability and, strength, to me, braid is braid. So I'm very much more willing to take a chance on braided line than anything else, Yeah. So I saw this spool of the XPS Bass Pro, the braid, the 50-pound braid, and I bought some and I spooled up my reel. I think the first night we got down to Cody's. Excuse me. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't believe it. So, I would take a shot on their fluoro.
Yeah. Like I said, when I was in Oklahoma, I had the option. They have Invisex there and I was just so used to using it and I still do, but I tried the Bass Pro stuff and it's a little less expensive, but it was just bunched up and I said, fuck it. I'm going back to Invisex. And I've done that for years, but now that problem is gone. So I'm going to give it another shot.
See, sometimes, man, this is one of the fucking dirty little secrets of Bobby Roastbeef's fishing practices. Fishing line can be so expensive, man. It really can ridiculous. Be. It's unreal. And I've been in the aisle recently and I've been like, okay, so I can get a spool of this. I need, a 20, I need a 14, I need, these are the spools that I need. And I'm looking at the numbers adding up and I'm like, well, they got what I want in Vanish. And it's half the price. And I haven't had an issue yet. I've heard a lot of people who have had issues. I'm not saying that I won't have an issue. I very well could. That could potentially change my mind. I haven't had an issue yet, but like I've had to make that budget, call. I've even looked at the Red Label cigar, and even that isn't really that much cheaper. I would rather buy the Invisex if I'm going to buy cigar.
So this year I actually just spooled a couple rods up with it the other night, but I'm giving that the Basics a try, the cigar Basics. I don't know if you guys have seen
I haven't tried that at all. No.
Yeah, it's cheaper than the Vanish, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it precision wound?
Yep. It is.
Oh, all right. That's good. Good to know.
Yeah, it is.
I've had enough negative experiences over the years with that Vanish.
Yeah.
That
I get it.
Yeah, it was rough for me. You write a fucking book on that, but like, especially it was one of the first fluoros I learned to throw too. So that probably compounded it, but,
that could be it. Yeah.
That Cigar, once I pulled those two fish out of what was, wilderness in a pond with 20-pound test, that sold it on me. I got that line back and it looked like it'd been through a fucking wood chipper.
Yeah.
An 8.0 and an 8.4. Literally out of a row of arborvitaes.
You're like running your fingers along it to find nicks and impurities, and it's scraping the fingerprints off your finger. Yeah, no. I get it.
It was harder to find fucking clean spots.
Jimmy fucking Hoffa. Like, yeah,
I had it was no Andy's around, but found him under a fucking bench at Denny's and
That's right. I forgot.
But yeah, so I'm going to give the Bass Pro Shops a whirl. Unfortunately, I did buy a couple spools with gift cards of the Cigar. Not unfortunately, it's just par for the course, but as those spools get run down, I'm going to just completely switch over to Bass Pro and see what happens. I do want to comment on one comment here. Binya, these goddamn loons are making fishing expensive. That's in one way. If you're replacing everything with tungsten, absolutely. Tin bismuth mixes are out there that are not that bad.
Yep.
No, they're either cheaper or comparable depending on where you buy them. So that's kind of a myth.
I will say that, like, man, tungsten is, if you want to count rocks, tungsten's your go-to, man. Like, there's a reason, but you don't have to use tungsten all the time for every single, presentation.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's all about
a big thing. And we could talk about this for hours, but, I'll see a lot of people that, you mentioned the count rocks. They're like, I want to feel everything when I'm down there. So they'll buy the tungsten, but they have some shitty fucking rod that's got zero sensitivity.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to throw tungsten on my ugly stick.
Yeah. I used to see that a lot. And yeah,
that's a really good point, man. That's a really, really good point. Like, it does you no good if you don't have sensitive enough gear to, and I'll be honest with you, man. When I was throwing, what the hell was the name of those? I'm looking at one right now. The Vengeance rods. Yeah. For the money, if you need to put together a small lineup, all right, they're great. But when I switched over to I wouldn't even say high end rods, but just better rods in that $100, $120 category, the sensitivity is insane, especially like
it's night and day.
Yeah, especially like on my 7.3 medium light. Like I like to throw like tungsten Neds, because of that reason. Where it's like, oh, okay, cool. But there's some situations you just don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the end of my rant and possible methods of savings. I do want to jump in.
Look at this insanity. Lauren chimes in. She goes, "How dare you say my Barbie princess isn't sensitive?" No, she's sensitive.
She's sensitive, all right.
We should make mention one of our jig heads had a birthday recently.
Yes.
And it's exploding in the comments right now.
Is.
So happy birthday, Chrissy.
Chrissy, happy birthday.
Chrissy, as Barbara Wawa says, Chrissy Radwilowitz. I can say that I'm Polish. Leave me alone.
It's true. It's true. You can.
Chrissy Radwilowitz. So Chrissy, happy birthday from all of us to all of you. That's all I got. That was my week. My week sucked.
Man, it was prepping. Yeah, it was a rough week. Not a whole lot going on. I definitely want to talk.
We're close though.
We are close. We're very
close.
I will say this much. There's one thing that I think between the trip to Chick and then the subsequent trips out that I've had, there is one thing I really want to do, and I'm glad, Sean, that you mentioned that feel free bag, because I have been taking quite literally all of my tackle that I have. Like specifically with hard baits, and I've been categorizing them in different boxes and literally taking every single thing on the water. And this year I want to change that. I want to organize that bag more. I've been using a day box, but I want to create like, okay, so this is for, jerk baits, and these jerk baits, maybe I don't always take that box out, or especially like we're talking like swim baits earlier with like the mag drafts and stuff. One of the things that I was at the swim bait show for was looking for a good storage solution for these larger baits. I mean, not even like the 6-inch, but I would say like the 8-inch plus baits, the big weights that are wakes that are like 4.5, 6 ounces that I've got, the MS slammers, things like that. And usually what I do is I've got those little hook caps that I can pop on to keep them safe. But I have a 3700 box with 0 dividers. It's totally empty. And I've been, what's that?
That's a 3700 is bigger, right? Or is that a smaller one?
3700 is bigger. It's
a bigger one. Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah. So I've got a 3700 size box with no dividers in it at all. And I've been putting all of the swim baits that I have in there. Well, this thing is just like squeezed. It's packed. There's too much stuff in there. I got to strip it down. We'll go ahead and move things, out a little bit at a time. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use that box as a large swim bait day box. So that box might stay in that feel free bag on the boat, or if I'm taking just my my swim bait combo out, and I'm just going to be throwing swim baits, I'll take that as my day box, and I'll basically pull from something else. I couldn't find a solution anywhere in the swim bait show for storage. I found some Z-Man bags, but I would have needed several of these, and it would have made a mess. I think
what I might suggest for that would probably work for baits that size is start looking in the saltwater section and the surf casting section for boxes like that. There's all sorts of boxes that are made for big plugs, big swim baits.
Well,
because that's what you're throwing.
That's what it is. And what I'm actually thinking about doing, and I think this might be the move because I can grow with it, is I think I'm going to go to Harbor Freight and I'm going to get one of those Apache boxes. Like I use one for the podcast stuff. I have a small one for like a wireless microphone setup that I use that's battery operated. And somewhere in between those two sizes, I think I'm going to get one. And as I build that collection, I can change out the levels of foam that are in there. So the internal space can adjust so I don't have all of these loose baits just like jostling all over the place. So I think that might be the move. We'll have to play it by ear and see.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't even think about Harbor Freight. That's another good spot.
Yeah, I was like, I think for the money, because it's a waterproof, it's watertight, and it's also dust proof. So I mean, it's actually just as protective as any of those other Flambeau boxes that I've been using. There is one other box though that I am also considering changing, and it's not a Flambeau, it's a Plano Edge. Have you guys seen this Plano Edge spinnerbait box?
I've seen them,
yeah.
Yeah, I saw the series today. I was looking at them. Yeah,
I'm like, that's kind of cool because they lays them down flat, and you can see it's not that horizontal where they're hanging, which is awesome. And if you're on a big boat, then you've got the space to be able to store that. But storing that, I think, in a kayak is kind of odd. And I think that might be one of the things, because like right now, that's another example. I have basically a 3700 box that's just shit with skirts, and it's buzz baits, spinner baits, and all my jigs. And we talked, Sean, about how I want to change what I'm doing with jigs as far as how I'm dragging them out. I kind of want to treat them more as terminal tackle and build them on the fly as needed, you know? So it's just ideas that I'm playing with to kind of like streamline, be a little bit more efficient, and also get a little bit more, the day box is a great idea and I love it. I'm not going to stray from that. That's great just to have stuff right underneath me. Like under my seat in my kayak, I've got that day box and my terminal tackle. Pretty much everything I need. Between that and my plastics wallet, I mean, I've got pretty much everything that I need. We'll talk about all this shit later, but what do we have here? Oh, Vinny's got some stuff for us. He says, be careful the latches on those edge boxes. I've heard it's like a love-hate with some folks. Like some people have no issues whatsoever. Some people they get kind of tricky with. There's another one too. I think it's called Busby. Busby. Yeah, I think
not familiar with those.
It's like each box has like a small container with its own lid, which is kind of cool because you can customize what you're doing. I think Busby or something like that. I'm not sure. And then he says, if you don't close them right, they'll open up and make you shit your pants when your baits come back at you. All right, fair.
I don't want to buy those.
Yeah, that might be a bit much. He says, I have a terminal box and ended up with a lap full of hooks about concern for your junk. Yeah, I could see that. Although, I mean, yeah, I could see where that could be a mess. Figuratively and literally. Goodness. What else do we have going on in this round? Oh, I know what we got to talk about in this little deal. So we have some congratulations to throw out. Some congratulations on a new engagement. We have Michael Davidson and his girlfriend Lexi had recently. Michael had proposed on the banks of a local body of water. They're a young couple in South Carolina, and I had right after we recorded the show last week, I had shared a post from. Well, this was originally put out by Barstool Outdoors, I believe. Yep, Barstool Outdoors had shared this, and I had gone ahead and shared this as well. I do this all the time, usually 2-3 times a week. I'll go ahead, I'll find some kind of a post where I feel I can make some sort of a comment on and throw it out there and just kind of like, put my 2 cents on, and it gets a conversation going. And ultimately, it does put more eyes on what we're doing on our profile. It's part of the way that we grow. And it works, you share things that people can relate to. It's a good thing. I've never seen numbers like this. You want to talk about the reach? So total plays that this has seen, 1,447,696. That is 3 times the most viewed piece of content that we've posted. It's 3 times more than the previous leader, which is within the last 2 years. That's as far back as it will let me, do the filter. So going back in the last 2 years, from number 1 is almost 1.5 million. Number 2 is just under 500,000, or just over 500,000 rather.
It's fucking nuts.
It's fucking bananas. Now, I got to say this too. There's, what do we have for likes? 26,518 likes. That's a shitload of likes, man. I mean, and thank you guys for the engagement on the post. Again, congratulations to both Michael and Lexi. Super stoked for them. I did mention in my post, part of the reason why I shared this was that, I am a wedding DJ and officiant and do travel and could definitely make it worth, fitting in a fishing trip in South Carolina while I'm down there. We had, as far as shares, we had 1,100 shares. We had over 2,000 saves. And 163 comments, most of which, as everybody knows, were unbelievably positive. And congratulations to the young couple. But holy Jesus, there are some people who are just absolute pieces of shit out there. I don't want to dive into these comments here or anything because I don't know that Michael and Lexi are going to listen to this show. I mean, probably not. They don't give a shit. They got a wedding to plan. But oh my God, some of the shit that some of these people said, like,
who the fuck hurt you? Who hurt you, you goddamn pieces of shit?
It is ridiculous. Thank you, though, for the engagement. I just let it go. I'll take it. I will take it. But oh my God, let a motherfucker be happy. Now, have you guys watched the reel?
I did. Yeah. I watched it. Yep.
One of the things that came up multiple times, Lexi says she's going to cast, and I don't know what it was that she was casting, but it seemed like it was a pretty heavy bait. And this rod's, winding up, and he goes to get behind her to get down on one knee and get the ring. And she's like, watch out. Don't get into my tossing zone. And like the comments just had a field day with that. And then I guess like when she saw the ring, she dropped the rod. Multiple people were
she
like
flung that thing.
Yeah, once she saw the ring, she was like, "What the fuck?" And then so he's like, people are just like, "Oh, if she dropped my rod like that, oh no, deal's off, it's over, it's a game changer." And I'm sure some of those folks are just being funny. Some of those people were serious, and I'm like,
"Get over yourselves!" Oh my god.
Just let a motherfucker be happy. So congratulations to them. I'm stoked for them. We actually had tried to, I reached out to Michael and tried to get them on the show, but things didn't work out. They weren't able to make the recording. Who knows what will happen in the future, but congrats guys. We're psyched for you. And again, if you need a fishing minded disc jockey, if you want to kind of keep this theme going, Give your boy a call. Slide in my DMs. We'll work something out. Oh my goodness. What else do we have here?
Do you guys want to cover a little bit in depth before we take a break about the Swimbait show? Because we only barely touched on it.
Yeah, we barely touched on it.
Yeah.
Hit it, gents.
All right. So Swimbait show. I had this week I was looking forward to it, and I had seen a number of posts. I think it was Josh Scaife, friend of the show. You've heard him on the show a couple of times. He's a local guy, like a hammer when it comes to catching giants. And he was working at the Lanciati table, which was the big draw. The Lanciati table at this show was crazy. There were folks that were there so far in advance. They had limited numbers, and they were sold out in less than an hour. Everything from that booth was gone. So I'd seen a post come up before from Josh, and I was going back looking for it, and I just searched Swimbait Expo on Facebook, and I saw a post there. And the time that I saw said that doors were at 8:00. So my thought was I'd get up nice and early, give Paul a call, see what's up. I pick up the Polish hammer about 7:30. We hit the road. We got there just after 8:00, which is kind of what I was expecting. I knew that there was going to be a line. I figured this way most of it would, or at least it would be on its way in. We could join it in progress and then be good to go. Dudes, we got there at just after 8, and apparently doors didn't open until 10, which
that
sucked. So I
got the 10 o'clock flyer.
Yeah.
I had gone and, we waited in line. We made some friends, did some talking, handed out some Jigs and Big stickers, and, met a couple of dudes from New Hampshire. I forget their names. I'm a piece of shit. If you guys are listening, shoot me a DM and remind me I'm a piece of shit, and I'll give you a shout out on next week's show. But, yeah, it was awesome, man. We had some good conversations. We had a good time. Definitely talked quite a bit about the show. Josh came out, recorded some video, and then went back in. We went in there, and I mean, we were in and out in 15, maybe 20 minutes with the bathroom break on the way out. It was so small. And I got to be honest with you, there were a lot of filler booths in there. Like there were multiple jerky booths. There was a booth that was selling like seasonings and sauces. There was another booth, and I forget if it was like it might have been solar, but it was either like solar or like gutter protection or something like that. There was
they had the gutter protection.
Yeah.
They had a few like that. I think they might have had both. I think they had gutter and sun.
I mean,
like
don't get me wrong. The vendors that were there were all awesome. The ones that were the actual, fishing and swim bait vendors, they were all awesome. I remember I saw Tom's Custom Baits there. I remember, I stopped off obviously at the Berkshire Bass booth. That was kind of like my focal point anyway. I don't know if you guys noticed this slick new hat that I'm wearing.
I did.
Yeah, I am such a fucking fanboy now. But I'm owning it.
Yep. Yeah, you had like you said, the Tom's was there, and then Sherpa was there.
That's right, Sherpa was there, and I was surprised that there wasn't a line for Sherpa, like a separate line to get into, like there was for Lanciati.
It looked like I said, I was there. I got there probably 11:30. They didn't have much going on. Like it looked like they did sell quite a few. They had the Real Prey swim baits there.
That was the other one. Those look awesome
yeah.
too.
Yeah, they're cool. They're nice swim baits. But like swim bait specific, I think those were the only 3.
Yeah. For like a swim bait specific show. I mean, what is it? Is it MGC? Is that the other one?
Yeah.
They were there as well.
They're out of the South Shore. I think they got some stellar stuff.
They really do.
Sell, but they had, it was funny because they had like Real Prey had their own booth, but then they were also selling Real Prey at the, their booth as well.
Yep.
I did notice that, but they do have a huge and a very good swim bait selection, but they were also selling. I mean, they have phenomenal reels that they're selling. They had all their other shit out.
I almost bought a Corrado.
Really?
I was like, shit. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I got a Corrado MGL recently, but I mean, it was just maybe fishing booths. What, 10?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
10.
What was the ratio? So you had 10 fishing booths. How many non-fishing booths were there?
I would say, honestly, at least 40% of them were non-fishing.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably like maybe, like my guess would be maybe 10 fishing booths and then probably 5 of everything.
Yeah.
That had 0 to do with fishing.
Yeah.
There was maybe 15 booths.
And I get like you have to do that. Like to because these shows are not cheap, like to put together. The overhead and everything is crazy. Like I'm not saying that's there's no shade from me there at all. I get it. Like you gotta fill the stuff, but like, I mean, it's definitely better when they're, at least fishing oriented, if not necessarily, swim baits per se, but I mean, it was very obvious that when we got in there, they were doing, like I said, they were letting people in batches of 25 at a time. I think we were in the 3rd batch that had gone through. That was the one that we had gone through, the 3rd or the 4th. So there was already a good amount of people in front of us, and there was a line right at the entrance coming in, and it was at the point where they were just like, look, if you're not in line for the Lanciotti booth, then just go right in. Just go right. And when we went in, it was staggering how few people were walking up and down the other aisles. Yeah. It was staggering. Wow. Yeah. And I mean, it was crazy.
It's just, I mean, the swim baits thing still just it's still a very niche thing. But it's even more of a niche thing in New England. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, let's say 10% of fishermen, throw big swim baits, and then 10% of those 10% might come from New England. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's still a very niche thing. It's still, but and don't forget, like we talked about, all those booths had already come to the other 2 shows. So a lot of those people might have already gone to those shows to get their shit,
That too.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a good show. I mean, definitely it was, and you're right. There's 100% a niche when it, when it comes to throwing big baits. It's not necessarily something everybody does. Although I will say this, everybody that we talked to, and it might have just been just where we actually landed in line. We had, when we were in line, everybody that we talked to, because we're all sharing fishing stories and talking about all kinds of stuff. Every single person had stories about throwing conventional tackle as well. Everybody. It's just that's the reality. I think for the most part of it, it's just kind of nuts. But I definitely like in my mind, I think that consolidating all these shows into one like mega fishing show would probably be the best move. And you could probably do all of this and, get a really, really, really great turnout versus doing multiple weekends here and there. I got to wonder how, just the planning alone, like that, I think that's insane doing all these other shows, but it was definitely good. Lauren chimes in. She goes, 15 booths. She's like, yucks, that sounds like one too many shows. No comment, Lauren. No comment. Oh. Goodness. It does. Yeah, it is. It is. She's post right here. She goes, it makes it hard to get vendors to come back. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. Obviously at the price point, like for some of these baits, like if you sell out of your stock, like, oh, of course you're going to go back. You're going to be able to move these.
Sure.
But like, I know, and you would mention it as well, Joe, like a lot of these guys that are in there buying these baits, they're not necessarily buying them for themselves. They're buying them to flip them.
Yeah.
And that's part of the culture too. I mean, you go out there, you find out where there's a show going on in an area where there's just a drop online, and then look at eBay afterwards in the 4 or 5 days following, and you'll see some of these baits popping up at price tags that are just like crazy inflated.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm outside of this circle, right?
Yep.
You guys are dipping a toe into it, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm curious. So what was the name of that swim bait? The begins with an L?
Lanciotti.
Yep.
Lanciotti. Let's see what they got on eBay right now. Search for anything. LANCI
IOTTI.
IOTTI. Lanciotti. What do we got here? These are not lures. That's a shoe. Hooks. There's an author named Lanciotti. That's an issue here because we're just
true.
Yeah. Issue. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
This is a lot of books.
Yeah, like
Hold on.
MGC pops up in one of the first things, and there's no Lanciottis available.
Yeah, sort. I want filter. We're learning here on the air.
We are
all listening.
It's the Psycho Gill is the one that's like crazy famous. A Psycho Gill is like crazy famous.
Is Psycho spelled properly, or is it like new metal?
Nope, it's spelled properly.
I'm not seeing anything on here. Bunch of Rapala stuff. I don't know why that's Psycho.
I don't know why that's Psycho.
I don't know what the hell's going on here. No, I couldn't find it. Maybe I spelled it wrong. LANCIOTTI.
Yep.
I don't know. I'll look for it later.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find my eBay app sucks a lot more dick than my my eBay on the laptop. Why? I don't know.
Oh, no. Dick. I hear you. Lauren chimes in. She says, my show dollars are precious. If I don't get a return on my dollars, I'm not going back. That's like you and everybody. There was one guy, though, that was in there, and I forget what booth it is, but he had a bunch of Klondike Custom Creations spinnerbaits. A bunch. Like all kinds of stuff. Jigs, too. Like a whole rack all hanging up there. And there was another brand, too, that had caught my eye. Another Rhode Island brand, too. Was it Mayo or was it Fish Daddy? I
didn't notice them.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed the Klondike stuff right away. I was like, oh, this looks familiar.
And that was the crazy thing is, I didn't really look at any of that conventional shit because, again, I'm just dipping my toes in this.
Yeah.
I mainly went to go get a couple mag drafts. But it's like, I didn't even look at, like, there was as many conventional products as there were swim baits. More.
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that for a lot of folks, really, if you're just dipping your toe in, that would be a great show to be at for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you're just to kind of get in there and say, like, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think for somebody like Paul, who is like, he went and he picked up a 6-inch mag draft. And I think that's the perfect starting point, something like that. It's affordable. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things, it's affordable. It's a great way to kind of toy a little bit and kind of see what you're into. And you don't need a special setup just to throw them, Right. That's the beauty of it. So
the only, I did get on eBay here on my laptop, and the only really, shall we say, niche swim bait item is the Piz Beast Gill glide bait. Are either of you familiar with that?
Yeah, the Piz stuff is. Oh, did you see any Piz stuff at the show? Piz is one of those buzz brands, though.
They might have had some at MGC. No, that
might have been it. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, because I want to say I saw something, a banner or something over there. They
didn't
had a
have
big
a booth,
wall,
but I think they had it at MGC.
That might have been it. That could have been it.
Well, this Piz one on eBay is $649.
Yeah.
Good for whoever buys that. I'm out. Fucking $600.
And you said it's a glide?
It was the here, I'll give you the name of it. It is the Piz Beast Gill glide bait. So it's a jointed bluegill shaped glide bait. Brand new, $649. Holy shit.
Damn, man.
That's a starter's kayak, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you ain't kidding, man. You ain't kidding at all. Holy shit. Yeah.
It's crazy. That's the only really expensive one. This, again, I'm just looking to see what, this world is, because I've really kept out of it because I know that I'm priced out, to be quite honest.
No. So, I could definitely understand that. But like, that's the thing. Like what Joe and I are talking about, like these mag drafts, these 8-inch, they're $25. You know what I mean? It's a huge difference. And I mean, that's Megabass with a reputation of being like super expensive and, and rare. It's just like, that's crazy. Binya chimes in. He says, do they have loan officers at those shows? No, they don't have any financial representation at all, because anybody with financial responsibility whatsoever would say,
what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Joe, they wouldn't be a bad idea for these Swimbait companies to set up shop outside of military bases. I mean, it's right in there.
On the 15th.
Yeah. So you get a place to cash your check. You got a strip joint, place to buy liquors, place to buy tattoos, and then, used car dealership. And then, I need a fucking $649 glide bait. Fucking right there. Boom.
Watch how fast they sell them then.
I'm telling you.
It's crazy. And it's fucked up because the biggest fish of the year from last year that I caught came on the most expensive lure I've ever fucking bought. So there's that.
Which one was that?
That's the Bruce Gillis.
Oh, right.
That's no joke. But I mean, that's sub 200,
Yeah.
But also it floats. I'm getting it back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It floats.
Right.
I'm getting it back. I'm not worried about you. Bears climb trees. You will see this giant fat ass climb a tree to get it if I have to, or I'll just cut the tree down.
Yep.
Part of the reason why I keep that saw and that hatchet in the back of my truck. It's like, you're going nowhere.
I got you for 3 minutes of pain.
I'm sorry. I need more like that. Loaded Potato says, so you can get a Traeger grill for that price. Well worth it. Traegers are nice. They're nice, but your boy's old fashioned. I like to light a fire and pray. That's how I barbecue. Say a prayer. Let's wrap this sucker up, guys. We'll get back into segment number 2. We're going to talk versatility in just the tip. And in our bait of the week, we're talking blade baits right now. We got really, really cold water still up here in New England. And blade baits may be the move. May very well be the move. Joe's going to chime in with that. No FTG, because y'all seem to be on your best behavior for one reason or another. I don't know what that's all about. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy.
Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
It's absolutely true, guys. And we're gonna revisit in just the tip here a little bit of a topic that's come up at least once before, probably a handful of times, if I'm being completely honest about it. But the subject is versatility, and I feel like versatility is something that you can always grow on. You know, you can always take a little bit and say and look back. That they say hindsight is 20/20. Look back and say, like, am I really using the right stuff for this? Do I really need all of these items? And kind of plan out your day accordingly. One of the things as anglers that I feel we deal with all the time is the balance of, I want to be able to have everything should I need it. And then do I really need this? You know, do I actually really need to carry this and lug around essentially, you know, a giant military grade footlocker on my back while I'm fishing the bank? Or do I have to fill every single nook and cranny on my boat? I mean, the discussion is going to vary based on your method of fishing for that outing, but it's always something that's going to weigh in a little bit. So I'm bringing this up again because when I had gone out with Caleb, our guide at Chickamauga, and I went, you know, Paul and I had taken this trip. Now, excuse me, he had obviously a bunch of gear for us to throw and was ready for a whole lot of this stuff. But one of the things that, you know, we were obviously had some concerns about rods and reels because both Paul and myself throw left-handed retriever reels, and we go into this expecting that we should be prepared. You know, I mean, I've thrown some right-handed stuff before. It's awkward. I can get it done. It's a little bit awkward, just not for me, you know? So what I did was, instead of just bringing a bunch of reels and having to like take his shit off and put our stuff on or everything, I said to Paul, I said, let's be smart. Let's plan, and we'll take the minimum amount of rods that we can to give ourselves a spectrum, figure out what the hell are we going to throw, you know? So I took some of this time and I talked to Caleb in advance, and this is days before we had left. And I said, listen, what do you think that we're going to be throwing for the most part? Because I don't want to bring a frogging combo if we're not going to be throwing frogs. Like, if we're not going where we've got a bunch of lily pads and, you know, slop that we're throwing, you know, top water on, I don't want to bother bringing it, you know, or if we're not throwing, you know, drop shots, if you don't think we're going to be throwing that, I'm not going to bother throwing, you know, bringing that specific combo. And I actually went back to an episode of Tackle Talk recently and listened back to like an episode that Andrew Hayes had done. And everybody's going to weigh in their own like 2 cents on this, their own opinions, because, you know, rod selection really does a major portion of it does come down to personal preference, how you fish, how things react with you. You can make your own judgments on things, but the idea, what he kind of went over this when this episode was like a spectrum, you know, and within there are some specialty rods. Like, he has a cranking stick that he puts in there, you know. And I've heard this before where you'll see this, like Mike Iaconelli had done the 3 rods every angler must carry. And when something like that gets said, you're talking about not the niche baits necessarily. You're not talking about an 8-inch mag draft. You know, you're talking about throwing half-ounce spinnerbaits and jigs and chatterbaits and a square bill, an underspin. You're talking about weightless soft plastics, Texas rigs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Jerk baits, all kinds of stuff. Topwater, and what are you going to carry and how are you going to be versatile with it? So this is going to be, the specifics are going to vary by angler, but look at what you're doing. And Paul did this. We had taken he brought 6 rods with him down on the trip. I carry several. I mean, counting my carp rod and counting my my sort of like all-in-one spinning combo. I have 2 different spinning finesse combos. One I use for Ned rigs, one I use for drop shots, and that's a luxury. Like when I'm on the kayak, but when I'm bank fishing, I downsize that, and I'm not always carrying everything all the time. So I said to him, I go, let's look at what we've got and put together a spectrum so that way collectively we're carrying less, but we kind of have a lot to go on. And what's interesting was this day that Paul and I had gone out to fish after the Swimbait show. Homeboy brought 2 rods for the first time. And he had a spinning combo that he left in the truck if he knew that he was going to be throwing something on that. Like if the situation called for it, it was right there. He could go back. First time ever I've seen him bring 2 combos. And they were set up in a way so that he could throw essentially the general breakdown was he could throw single hook baits and treble hook baits. He had one rod that had more of a parabolic bend. That was a little bit more less of a fast action, and one that was a faster action really is the biggest difference right there. His reels, pretty much, he had one that was like a 6.8 and one that was a 7.1, so kind of like right in the middle. And, it was just, and I even asked him afterwards, I was like, isn't it nice to not have 6 rods just getting all tangled over? So especially when we're bank fishing. Especially like just going with 2 or 3 rods, taking them out. And I was bringing essentially 2 bait casters that were in the same ballpark as like what he had going on. And then I had my spinning combo, because I I never leave home without it, so it's about like looking at what you're carrying for versatility. And after having a conversation with Paul, we were rigging up before our trip for Chick. He had even threw out there that he's like, well, I have so many 7-foot medium heavies because I'm comfortable throwing those. And, if I want to have a Texas rig, if I'm throwing a jig and then I have a Texas rig, I want to be able to switch and just grab the rod and go. Or a spinnerbait or whatever it is. He just wants to grab and go. And I was like, that's a nice luxury, but it's not realistic when you're on the bank and you're on the move and you're going from spot to spot to spot. Like it can get a lot to juggle, just like where are you going to put them on the bank? Where are they going to stay where they're not going to get in the way? Sure, you could use a rod runner or something like that. That's awesome. You can definitely do that. And if that's what you want to do, then go for it, but that's where the versatility, like it's going to be different for everybody, for the water you're fishing, the way you like to fish, the baits you generally throw. And the more that you learn and the more that you can look back with experience and know what presentations are actually effective, the better you'll get with doing this, because you'll know, oh, hey, I'm killing them on half-ounce chatterbaits, so I know I need something that I can throw that, but I also do really well with, Texas rigs or jigs, or, I also periodically will throw a jerkbait. Well, maybe I should consider throwing this instead. So that's as far as like, versatility as far as rods and stuff. The other thing is with plastics. There is nothing that eats up more space than making the decision like, hey, I might throw this plastic. Let's throw this bag in here too. Let's do this. It adds up so fast. It's always nice if you can just kind of streamline some stuff, and make some judgment calls. And the severity of what you carry is going to change. If you're on a kayak, you have a little bit more wiggle room than if you're bank fishing. If you're in a big boat, you have a lot more wiggle room than even if you're on a kayak, but way more than if you're bank fishing. So when I bank fish, I mentioned earlier that I use a plastics wallet. I do that to streamline. And what I put in there are baits that I use, and I divide them up by type. And I even mix them up. The only ones that I don't mix up are the Z-Man ones. They get their own special little packet, and I'll throw those in a pocket in my bag. But what I'll do often is I will take one envelope and I will put stick baits and flukes in one envelope because I fish them often in similar setups. And lots of times I actually will fish them interchangeably. I'll Texas rig them weightless and use them like just a soft plastic jerk bait in that method. What I'll do in the next packet is craws. So I'll take some of my favorite craws, but I keep my colors as when I'm buying colors, it's pretty simple, but I know people who have colors like up the wazoo. So I generally keep something that's natural, something that's light, and something that's dark. Then I have one that's all paddle tails, and I mix the sizes. So I'll have, 3.3s, 3.8s, 2.8s, and then even some like 4+ inch paddle tails that will be in this one envelope. For the record, that envelope is the fattest one. It's got the most variety in it, and I'm always in and out of it because I throw those on a lot of different things. Then I've got creatures. Creatures will be anything from a beaver style, like my D-bombs go in there, as do my 6 cents prawns, my flippin' baits, things like that. If I'm throwing those, and I use those for jig trailers as well, Texas rigs, you name it. Once we get into the other side of things, then I start downsizing. I have a pocket for curly tail grubs. I have a pocket for TRD style baits, just little tiny stick baits. I have really small creatures, and I split them up based on color. And then I have drop shot baits. I have one packet that is just the stuff that I generally will throw on drop shots, and mainly these are worms, smaller worms. So like a standard Zoom trick worm and smaller. And I put those in a variety of colors. And that has helped me carry so much less. Sometimes I'll be at a body of water and I'm like, I need such and such. Or maybe I've discovered trying out a new color or something or a new pattern. Recently, I just started throwing sungill as a color for a lot of the water that I like. So I'll throw in another pocket a couple of things, but that's like the shit that I'm jumping into in this one bag. Now, the baits that I'm bringing when I'm on the kayak, totally different ballgame. Whole lot more variety. I'll keep a big plastic money bag full of additional stuff. In fact, I keep this thing in the truck and I will mix things up as I'm going based on the conditions, where I'm fishing, the time of year, all of these other factors that kind of come together. I'll edit that out. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. The last thing I want to talk about, well, and this kind of lumps into what we're talking about with plastics, but is the storage of it all. And this is where you got to look at, I have not one, but 2 wallets that I keep on hand. One wallet is destined for the kayak. It's going to live under my seat. The other one is going to stay in my bank bag. And I'm doing this on purpose so that when I'm going out and I'm trying to plan a day, I can take the appropriate stuff, but not have to take every single piece of plastic I've ever thrown ever in my life, and make some type of a choice. So, yeah, I'm going to have a couple of different craws, a couple of different colors, but those craws might change based on the time of the year. I might throw a 6 cent stroker craw because I need those claws to get crazy in July. Or I might be throwing a little bit more of a subdued craw, or I might modify that stroker craw by trimming some of the plastic off the claws to keep them a little bit less wild, and wily out there. I've done that before with like rage menaces and stuff. Like rage menaces kick like a son of a bitch. They're a great trailer on a bunch of different things, but on a chatterbait, they're too much. I like to trim off the bottom end, and it's a great it's almost like a Zako in a way, just a little thinner body. Anyway, that's my 2 cents as far as all that. How do you guys weigh in? How do you keep yourselves versatile?
So for me, being on the boat,
you have a totally different perspective.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I am very financially dumb to where I just have pretty much a setup for every fucking bait that I throw. So I very rarely have to retie.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, if you have the ability to do that, I mean, I would. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I try to, like, for instance, in this spring, there's a lot of like, I run 3,700 boxes. That's what I put in my storage. Everything's labeled and spread out. So there, obviously, I'm not putting my fucking frogs in my boat yet, shit like that. So to, keep weight down. But Yeah, so I do have everything. I have the ability to completely separate everything.
Yeah.
And label it like that. If I'm bank fishing, I just fucking, I'm the type of person that I grab a couple rods, I keep whatever bait's on there, and I throw some fucking plastics in my pocket.
Yeah.
For some reason, if I'm just going to bring the kids down real quick or something. So.
And that's a different animal too. Like when you're going, I hate that using the term fun fishing, but like when you're just going out, to bullshit and hang out with some buddies and throw some baits or something, and it's not a big send, so to speak, like, yeah, you 100% could get away with doing that. Like I remember the trend of, when fanny packs got to be kind of popular, and it was for that reason exactly, where you're like, oh yeah, I've got a small plastic, container that I can keep a couple of hard baits in, throw those in there, some terminal tackle, throw that in there. And then I got, a bunch of different plastics that I'll just stuff in this one fanny pack, and I'm on my way. Now, Sean, I know you've got a totally different take on this. And also because you fish almost exclusively out of a kayak, like you don't really vary much from this system for organization.
Well, I'm going to kind of blow you guys' mind on this. So I don't really get why you guys leave stuff at home. I think if you focus on the things that are going to catch, so like Joe just said, well, I don't bring the frogs out in spring. Why not?
Well, that's a great question. I guess it's something. So I'm not confident with them in the spring. I've never thrown them. I don't know if I've ever thrown them, or I've never caught anything in the spring.
So I can say that in my experience, I have. So I make sure that I have my baits that I have confidence with. Again, I'm not going to go on a rant or a lecture about keeping a database, but I know several places. And then once you establish a pattern at one body of water, the idea is to test it at other bodies of water.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
So some of the top water fish that I've caught in places that are shallow and weedy, and the water, even in the shallow weedy spots, I might have to get to it, but I'm talking 3 feet or less, clogged with weeds, even in the beginning of the spring, because it might be root systems from lily pads or whatever. These are places that might actually be unfishable in the summer, but the fish are there because it's the first place to warm. And I'm talking frog bites on 40-degree water, 42-degree water.
Yep.
I've had that happen. And not just popping or hollow body frogs, but toads. And that's early April, late March.
Well, I could definitely see that happening, because there's a spring buzzbait bite as well. Like in shallow water, I could definitely see throwing a buzz toad in that kind of a situation. Or, in the spring, like I would throw a popper. But I think I'm not saying that I necessarily leave everything at home. I don't put it on my back.
Yeah, well, that's
the difference, and because everything will be in the truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I have established what I'm good with, with what my strengths are, right, and I keep very, very limited colors. I keep sizes and things that I'm confident in. So that's why I kind of get pissed off if I find a jerkbait that I like using in a 110 size and it doesn't come in a 90, I get upset with it.
Of course,
because now it makes
you
me add
find
another variable,
another brand, that's in that size, that's in that,
So right off the bat, I try to limit variables, and just doing that, you're adding 3 because you don't know that you're taking the size, the color is going to be different, and who knows what's going on with the rattle suspension, etc.
Yep.
So when I think the best way I can show my versatility with the system that I have is, I take all the same stuff that I fish out of my kayak with into a bass boat. I don't cut anything out.
Yeah.
So I lift up my feel free bag, and it's got all my hard baits in it.
Yep.
And then usually what I'll do is I'll take my 5, well, it's going to be, I think 6 now this year, but I take my 6 tool bags that I have from Home Depot that I put my plastics in, that I have them sorted. Mm-hmm. I put them into a backpack. So I walk on to like loaded potatoes boat with my same 6 rods, my same tackle bag.
Yep.
And then I just put all the little tackle bags into a backpack.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just a matter of whittling down what baits and what rods are producing for you. And the only way that I've found to do it honestly, truthfully, and for sure is with that database. And that's just...
Oh, no, I agree. I think the stronger your database is, the more streamlined your... See, because I think when it comes to baits, you have your warehouse at the house. Like, Sean, you've got a warehouse. You've got a file of your baits that you have that are stocked up. And when you need to re-up, like, not everything that you carry that you own is in that feel-free bag. You've got a storage of baits that you can re-up as you need them. Plastics, whatever that might be. Right now, my feel-free bag is that storage.
Okay.
And so then the issue that I'm running into is that I'm carrying a lot of bloat. I'm carrying stuff in that I don't need to carry, that I don't have records on. It's not, some colors like, and some of these are baits that like I've gotten through mail order boxes, or I've had, folks give me baits all the time. Oh, hey, you got to try this, got to try this, got to try this. And I'll give them the due diligence, but if they're not performing, I don't throw them again, I run into these situations when I'm like, I'll take like a situation like when we fished with Caleb where I had some intel. Hey, what should I have for colors? Hey, these are the colors that you're going to want to have. And I'll put that, which for fishing Chickamauga, it was a lot of different colors than I would be throwing up here. That I've got experience in results that I know are proven, for the last 3 years have been proven, So that's kind of the issue. Like, that's why I quote, leave things at home. Oftentimes my day box, what I will do is I will choose what's most likely to get bit. So like, I won't, like you're talking about having a frog, right, in the spring. I might not have a hollow body frog in my box in March or April, but I'll keep some of the Z-Man billy goats, and I've always got 5/0 hooks with me. You know what I mean? So I could throw that presentation. You know what I mean? Like it's there. It might not be perfect, and that's exactly it. Like, it's not always necessarily perfect, but I will tell you that like once we get to like the end of April into May, I've generally always got a frog. I've always got a light color and a dark color frog.
Well, that was just an example. Like I said, exactly. I mean, that's just what Joe threw out there. But like, my point is I don't leave anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've learned over time that the minute I leave something at home is when I need it.
Fair enough.
Or at least I'm wondering, did I need it?
Did I need it? Exactly. Yeah.
And that I don't like wondering that. I'd rather go out with everything streamlined and stuff that I have complete and utter faith in, and has proven, my faith is based on the actual written down history of looking back and saying, wow, I didn't know this was good.
I think you have to sing that from the mountaintop because, I mean, let's be honest, experience is first in fishing, Yeah. I think anyway, like I think experience is first, and the only way that experience is going to do you any good is if you can actually look back at it clearly and get an idea of what's working. So, like I know like your rod selection is different. You have a bunch of rods that actually kind of cross over, but you use them in different ways, right?
Me?
Yeah. Like you've got a bunch.
I only keep three rods, because if one breaks, I have its exact duplicate right next to it. Okay. And I can use that. So if I if I go out and, my jig rod breaks,
you've got another one.
I can take my frog rod, which is the same thing. That's why I don't buy specialized rods. I buy the general, what do you call it? Like all purpose, certain size, certain weight. I won't buy a Ned rod, but I will buy, I like throwing with Ned rigs and with drop shots. I like throwing a medium heavy spinning rod, 7 foot, medium heavy fast. And that does everything I needed to do, but I keep 2 of them, the exact same ones. That way, if one breaks and I'm on a bite on something, it's a quick spool change and I'm good.
And that's the thing. That's the thing too. I think that like, and that's why I wanted to mention it the way that I did when it comes to rods is like, that's going to be different for everybody. Like I've got a way that works for me. And I like to have, like, I like to call it a spectrum, where I'm like, I've got rods that are super light and I've got rods that are super heavy. How heavy do I have to go for this time of year, for this body of water? What am I anticipating that I'm going to be throwing? And I'll kind of like make the call based on that. Like I have thrown, like I've had a frog tied on before on my frogging rod, and usually that's the same combo that I'll throw a buzzbait on. Something like that. Generally, those are the same combo. But I have had a day where it's just been killer for like top water. I haven't had a bite on a frog necessarily, and I haven't had to fish one because I haven't had a bite on the slop, but pitching a buzzbait underneath. So what I'll do is my sort of workhorse rod, my, 7 foot to 7.3 medium heavy fast rod with fluoro, I'll throw a buzzbait on because I've got an 8-speed reel and I'm not relying on the line to keep that floating. You know what I mean? I got to keep it moving. Yeah. So like, it's one of those things. And actually that's something that I took from that Tackle Talk episode was that specifically. I was like, yeah, that's absolutely true. I can't throw this on fluoro. It's going to be fine. It doesn't matter. So just, I mean, it's one of those things, but I think that's one thing that no matter what, there is a benefit to looking back and checking in to see how you are as far as being effective, as far as versatility as a whole. You're going to check back and kind of do a personal inventory and say like, okay, so where are we? How is this doing? Is there fat that I can trim? And your database is ultimately what's going to prove that to you.
Yeah, that's why I haven't touched anything for this year. I haven't had a chance to look at last year yet, which hopefully I'll do this week. I have my trends that I follow, and if I'm not catching something in a couple of years on something, it's out of the box.
And the other thing too, Sean, that I want to just throw out there too is that like you've looked at your database and had info, and it's tipped you off to other presentations like the brush hog. You know what I mean? Like, and you've brought things back in because you're like, no, this was performing in these circumstances, so there's a lot that you can learn.
Well, the brush hog thing is very bizarre because the presentation that I'm catching fish on it with it now
is totally different.
Was not a thing when I was catching it. I was throwing them weightless in years past, completely weightless with a 3-aught or a 5-aught. And now I tend to Ned rig them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't even there. It wasn't, when I stopped
really
using them, I held on to them, it came back and I said, well, these things have not worked in the certain way I was using them. Let's try this new application. And it's paid off. But yeah, I try to stay so streamlined, like even to the point now where I'm actually not going to carry any 3-inch, Ned worms anymore at all.
Oh yeah. We talked about that.
I'm only carrying 4-inch, so I can cut them. I can cut them down if I need them.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? And that again, that lends itself to versatility, 100%, because now you're not carrying something that is in addition to. You can always make an adjustment. We've been going on this tip for 27 minutes.
Hell of a tip. Big old tip. We might have gotten some of the shaft in there too.
Maybe. May frickin' be. So next up, we don't have an FTG. Like I said, we don't have an FTG this week, guys. But what we do have for you is a bait of the week.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
Bust out the blade baits. Yeah. It's cold water. And what do you got there, Joe?
All right. So blade baits. Let's talk them. So my blade baits I typically use in the spring. They're big spring bait for me. Spring and fall. Have a lot of luck. But essentially, what I do is they do have the versatility to where you can essentially, like we talked before, you can almost like a lipless crank. You can swim kind of like a lipless crank. Where I've had my success is almost vertically jigging them, and toss them out not too far, letting them hit the bottom, bringing that rod tip up, let them go back to the bottom, bringing it back up.
Yep.
And, essentially on that flutter back down is kind of where I've had success. I've had success for them grabbing it. And then once you go to bring it back up, you got that fish on there. So with blade baits, the two that I typically use are the Demiki Vaults, or actually the one I always use is the Demiki Vaults. I stick to 1/2 ounce, maybe get up into the 5/8 realm. They're a little smaller profile than a lot of others. The new one I'm trying to get into this year is because I'm kind of a 6 Sense snob. 6 Sense did come out with one this year. Or I think it was actually the end of last season.
Yeah.
So
those look awesome.
I have not thrown this yet. I can't say, I can't tell you it's great or anything like that. But another thing, what's the one thing almost all blade baits have? They have the 3-hole system.
Oh, yeah.
To where you have your swivel in your 3 holes. So essentially, the farther back you put that thing, the more action you're going to get. I keep it, me personally, I tend to just keep it in the middle for everything I do with them. But they're a super versatile bait. I throw them. I typically, so I've kind of bounced back and forth to where I've thrown them on a spinning rod and a casting rod. I don't know what I like better yet. I haven't figured it out, you know, because I'm not, you know, I'm making sure I'm tossing them out. I kind of toss them out just beyond what the water depth is. It's all, like I said, it's almost like a vertical. I use the live scope and everything, and I'm video game fishing these things. They work very well for me for fish sitting in the column, you know, just and fish that aren't sitting on the bottom or whatever like that, and or just what's that word I'm looking for, guys?
Suspending.
Yes, Jesus Christ, fish that are like suspended. It's worked really well for me. You can, like I said, you can fish it like a lipless. Yeah. They can be, it does have the, you know, that 3 holes. It doesn't matter. They're pretty violent. You know, they're definitely a violent bait.
Yeah.
You know, you get a ton of action from them. But yeah, if there's something you haven't tried, me personally, for guys on the big boats, they're great for almost that vertical jigging. You can watch them real well in the live scope if you're using the live scope. If I tend to use them again on rocky bottoms, if you're going to be doing that, you're going to lose them. That's the only thing I can say. Blade baits. I've lost a million of them. You get snagged on those rocks. It's kind of one of those things. If you're fishing them the style that I do, you're going to lose them, and it gets pricey quick. So for the Demiki Vault, you're looking at the like $650 to $750 range. Yeah. And then for that 6 Sense one, that's $8 a bait.
And blade baits have come a long way. Like, oh sure, it used to be the Silver Buddy, you know, that was the go-to, and it was you got a little, you know, basically this silver blade with a little bit of lead on the front end of it, a couple of hooks, and those 3 holes signature drilled out on the top where you could change the clip. And that does change the flutter when you're dragging it back up. Yeah. But like now, you know, a lot of these baits have like more precision weight where they're really like weighted with almost like a flat bottom. So when they land, they could land like straight up and down. These are just baits that they're designed to get snagged on, you know, rocks, wood, you name it. And I think that one of the ways that I've always thrown them is a lot of like, when I throw a lipless, there's a couple of ways that I like to fish a lipless primarily. Burn it and kill it, and then yo-yo it, you know, where I'll let it drop all the way to the bottom. I'll rip it up, let it flutter back down, pick up my slack, let it sit, rip it back up. And the same thing there. That will get snagged on the bottom if you keep doing that, but it's effective. It gets the job done, you know? I like a blade bait personally. When I fish mine, I like to throw them on my 7.3 medium light spinning rod because I can cast them a country mile and work as much water all the way back. And I usually do that where I'm yo-yoing it. Now, I have had no results yet with a blade bait. Oftentimes, it's a situation where I'll fish one till I lose one, and then I switch to an Ed. Yep. But like blade baits are getting like super sophisticated. That 6 Sense one looks awesome.
It's actually I'll bring him. I know the jig heads are still in here, so I just grabbed out 2. So I'm a big gold fan when it comes to blade baits. That's where I've had my best luck was using gold. So you know I do have so I do have the gold 6 Sense here.
Oh yeah.
I got a couple of them. Then there's that. This is like the first time I'm going to be using like
a painted.
A painted, something to mimic. Like I said, I typically just go for silver or gold.
Yeah.
And that's what's worked well. That worked phenomenal for me at Anoda.
Oh, really? Okay.
Anoda bots. That's right. But I mean, you guys who know Anoda with those rocky banks right there, it's you're gonna. I mean, they're not rocks. They're freaking boulders that are in there.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
But they bite them, especially those suspended fish. Once they flutter down right by their face, they hit them.
I may need to throw a couple of those in my day box, my next send out, because it's one of those baits that I forget about. Last like late winter, I was throwing those quite a bit, and it's like same thing. Like I throw them till I lost one or two, and then I'd be like, all right, let's shift gears. We'll throw another cold water presentation, an inline spinner or a Ned, something along those lines. Yeah.
The one thing I will say is I tend to throw them more when I'm targeting smallies. I just tend to get more smallie bites out of them. But I'm typically fishing these things deep water. I mean, it's usually over 20 feet of water I'm fishing these things in. So
that makes sense. It definitely makes sense. There's a spot that I can think of off the top of my head that I think even bank fishing would be pretty good. It's good and deep. And there's some good fish over there. It might be something to look into. And it's nice. The thing is, too, the blade bait, it's a half ounce, but it's small. It's a really compact, presentation. Some of the lipless, they can be just a little bit too large and noisy,
Right.
These are, it's a different animal.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm looking for the blade bait brand that I've used in the past, and I can't find it. I'm kind of being driven nuts here. It's an older model. I thought at first it was a Northland, and it might as well have been, but I started using them ice fishing. Caught a few fish, not many, but I was like, oh, this is neat. They're small. So I put them on an ultralight rod, and I was whipping them around one day, and I was catching all sorts of shit on them. Little small perch one. I'm going to call it a Northland. Fuck it. I don't know if Northland.
It wasn't a steel shad, was it?
This is an old lure.
Oh, okay.
This is not. I'm pretty sure it was a Northland.
Okay.
But and I funny enough, I wasn't even in a smallmouth area. I was whipping them around above weed beds for largemouth, and I was catching perch and crappie with them too.
Yeah,
just fun.
It is a fun style of fishing. It is. Yep.
It is.
They have its place though. You're not gonna smash fish at every lake with them. That's kind of one of those things last year I wanted to build my confidence in, and I did.
Yeah.
And, I can't wait to throw them this year. So
that's awesome, man. When you're throwing them, like when about are you stopping? Is there like a water temp you're looking for when you're like, yeah, this isn't going to be the jam?
Yeah. So last year I typically stayed within the pretty cold. Actually, I stayed within the 55 and below.
Oh, okay.
That's where I had the most luck with.
Gotcha.
I should say. Cause once you hit that, that 55 for me, that there's a million other things that I want to throw
for sure.
So,
yeah.
Well,
it makes sense. That's freaking awesome, man. Well, we're going to take a short break, guys.
Whoa.
Oh no, that's right.
Not without my drums.
Oh, that's right. You need your drums. Stand by.
Yeah. Drums. Let the wedding begin. All right. Guess what time it is, folks? It's time to register for Chronic Trips. It's been up for 4 days now. You are free to register for it for the April tournament. Chronic Trips. Got to make note, couple things. Chronic Trips, if you catch a fish on April 20th, any species, but it's got to be separate. For those of you guys that are new to the tournament, you cannot double submit fish, okay? If you put a fish in any 5, it cannot be resubmitted in largemouth. You got to make a choice. There's some strategy there. But any fish that you would like to, a 12-inch bass, that ain't going to fit anywhere else, does not matter. An 8-inch crappie, I don't care. Submit it. There is a category called the 420 category that is worth a 1 point bonus. There is not going to be a lunker on that category. That is a single point for everyone who puts it in on April 20th, number 1. Number 2, the lengths. So For those folks that have fished with us in the past, lengths have been a big deal because there was a whole separate group of prizes attached to lengths. We are not doing that this year. Lengths come into play in each category. Whoever gets the longest submission of every category gets an extra point as the lunker of each category. Other than that, the any 5 category is straight up length by however many species you put in. It doesn't matter. But it still comes out as 2 points for the lunker of the NE5. 2 points for the person who submits the biggest bag in the NE5. 1 point for everybody else. Easy enough. Any questions? My contact info is on there. Send me an email. $30 for entry. That goes for all of our tournaments, whether it's Chronic Trips or Jigs and Bigs. So that's for the year. Now, what I do want to talk about real quick is we have some sponsors on board this year. The sponsors are coming in because anybody that finishes in the money, in actual money, will not be eligible for the giveaways. Simple enough. You won money, good. Take your money and run with it. Giveaways are going to be provided by the following companies. They are going to be drawn at random by myself or the Beef Man, or maybe we'll make Joe do it. He's a new guy. We'll make fucking Joe do it. Sounds like shit work. Well, we're going to be providing.
You sound like my wife.
I know. Thanks. She's right. So the giveaways will be provided by Wranglin' Baits, Klondike Custom Lures. Excuse me. Sorry, Matt. I ended up grabbing some rod sleeves from Sarah Pendergast.
Yes.
So those will be given away, and those will actually be coming from her, depending on what the lucky winners want, whether they want bait casting or spinning rod sleeves. 3 Bells will be providing coffee to one lucky winner per tournament. A-Bay jumping on board for this one. So they're going to provide a custom lure to the winner to make sure they get something they want, not just a random color they might not use or might not be effective with.
That's pretty cool.
But their swim baits are excluded. So everyone keep note of that. So don't say, hey, I want a fucking A-Bay swim bait, because you will not get one. Nor'easter will be involved. They will be providing a gift card for their apparel, and we all wear this shit. Like, we love it. So just be aware, their hoodies are badass, and actually all their products are badass, but I think we all have the hoodies, right? Joe, you got a hoodie yet from them?
I don't.
You fucking new guy. You're definitely doing the drawings now. Piece of shit.
I know.
So we got to get you in some Nor'easter stuff. Yes. Finally, most importantly, I dug through my storage room here upstairs where I do the podcast, and I found several unused Jigs and Bigs jig kits. So the final sponsor for the Chronic Trips tournament, Jigs and Bigs. We got some jig kits for you fuckers. I think that's all we got. Get ready. You can register now. Any questions, email me. Hit it hard. That's all I got.
I got a question for you, Sean, regarding tournaments. How the test tournament?
Well.
Yeah. Has anybody jumped on with that yet?
So one person did, and this is where test tournaments can be both amusing and disappointing.
Yeah.
Someone jumped on and submitted a picture of their hand. Now, I don't know if it was meant as a joke or not, but they didn't read the rules and submitted it under a submittable length. So it got DQ'd without me even touching it. So I don't know what happened there.
I gotcha.
Hey, if the hand was not a joke, it was not using a ruler, which is the whole point of this, or was not using a catchboard, you can resubmit it with a catchboard, put your hand on there. I'm actually fine with that. I've even suggested to people put a stuffed animal on there. I mean, it's not going to help you with hand placement or with keeping the mouth closed, but if you want to learn how to submit something with this
practice,
app, yeah, go for it. But I don't know what happened there. Speaking of catchboards, one other thing: if you are in need of a catchboard or a couple of their accessories, the catch keeper or the catch ID holder, in each of the tournaments, especially the test one, though, I have the information on how to order them through 3 Bells. If you need one, go ahead and read that. You'll be able, the 3 Bells will be able to provide the catch carbonite, the 36 and the 32s, I believe. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
3632, or is it 2632?
I think it's 2632.
2632, yeah. So go ahead. The ordering information's on there, and it should be updated by the time this podcast airs. I know I have it on the test tournament. I just have to run through the other tournaments and update that with the sponsors. So Yep. Lauren just confirmed that. 26 and 32, as did Binya. Catchboards. Lauren's reminding me. I got you, Lauren. I'm on top of this somewhat. I just don't know the lengths because I'm an idiot. So that being said, Joe, you're our minion for this, for drawings. We'll teach you how to do that. And yeah, good luck to everyone this year. I'm looking forward to it. This should be a lot of fun. And let's kick some ass. Catch fish.
I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I definitely am.
Wait.
We got, I have been talking with, that live stream that I did with Binya. We talked in depth about getting involved with these multi-species tournaments. So if you're, a seasoned angler and you want to kind of like add a little bit of value to the bycatch that you might be catching while you're out there, there's a great way to go ahead and do that. And also, as a reminder, if you're a first timer, this test tourney is for you. So go ahead and get involved with that now. I'm going to put another link on the show info for this podcast that you're listening to right now for that test tourney. I think I'm also going to put a link in there for the Chronic Trip since registration is open as well. So that is show info. When you're listening to our show on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, if you look at the show info and expand that fully, we have a bunch of links in there for you guys to check out. So definitely, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you go and do that.
Bobby, the last thing I want to add is with the whole point of this test tournament is to get folks that aren't used to using this app to get these fish disqualified or whatever, these stuffed animals, whatever the fuck you put on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We want to iron out the wrinkles of your technique on doing this stuff, because I know a lot of first-time anglers, myself included, when I first started doing this, you get a fish DQ'd and you take it very personally.
Yeah,
it makes you not want to fish
It's very
anymore.
frustrating.
And the object is go ahead and fuck up with the test tournament so we get it straightened out so you don't lose a fish that counts, and then you take it personally. As directors, we don't look at who's submitting the fish for the most part. We are looking at the fish and it's check yes or no. Are all the rules being followed? Yeah. So what position we're in is if we allow a fish to go through that should be DQ'd or, fucking have an inch or a penalty applied to it, whatever, right? We let that go. Then the people who are following the rules are going to look at us and say, "Hey, what the fuck?"
Exactly. Like
why are we not getting a fair shake?
There's got to be a standard set, and that's where some of this comes into play. You need to keep it even keel for everybody. That way, there's a certain standard that's being met. We've said it before that these tournaments are designed for the novice tournament angler, the novice competitive angler, somebody who's just looking to do this strictly just for fun, like I am. That's part of the reason why we have some of the things in here where, if you enter a fish and the mouth is open, you're going to take a penalty for it. That's in the rules. It's just the way that it is. I take
penalties on my fish all the time. 0 fucks given.
It's fine. You know what I mean? Because I'm there to have fun. I'm not super competitive. I'm just having fun. For me, this is fishing with you guys, the listeners. This is something how it works. But there's got to be a standard set there, and you don't take it personally. And there's, I think we've had anglers in the past who have tried this and who have said, "Oh, are you guys serious?" Like it's not, or like I think early on maybe we're running it for charity or something, and they're just like, "It's not even a big deal." Like, what the fuck? And it's like, but it is a big deal. Like we have to, if we do a favor for you, then we just have to give a gimme to everybody. You know,
it's the whole thing. I pride myself on, whether it's here, MAKB, Jigs and Bigs, Chronic Trips, all this is I pride myself on directing so that everyone gets a fair shake. There's rules written for a reason. We're going to follow the rules. That's it.
Exactly.
Binya brings up a good point here. Yeah, I don't want to see dick pics. I don't want to see titty pics. That's cute. If I want to look at naked people, I have the internet just like the rest of us. Try to take it seriously, folks.
Send that shit to me.
Yeah, Bobby wants that stuff, but not via Fishing Chaos.
Cheryl chimes in here. She goes, Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournament is the event that got me into tournament fishing. I didn't know that I had a competitive spirit until participating in it. Love it. It's so fun. Appreciate that, Cheryl. That's what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. Wow. What a show.
That's all I got.
So we're going to go ahead and take a short break, guys. We're going to be back in about 2 minutes. And now Joe's actually going to chime in with that preseason boat prep. This is all new to me. I have no idea. Like, I'm thinking a boat's a boat. It's cool. Send it seaworthy.
Send it fucking seaworthy, bitch.
Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. We'll find out if it is or not. Yeah. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far.
Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day, risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBIGS10 at checkout. Visit Torres.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
You know, some of you guys might be at home right now listening to Jigs and Bigs, maybe eating some sort of fancy peanut butter cups that you've acquired at some specialty shop somewhere. And you're thinking to yourself, you're like,
the fuck even is a boat? How do you even make a boat fucking work?
And maybe you're like us and you're accustomed to human-powered plastic boats. But how does one get ready for the new season of fishing when you've got, I mean, quite seriously, a legitimate piece of machinery? And luckily we have Joe to help shed a little bit of light on this for the few of us that are not so initiated, you know? Take it away, Joe.
All right, let's talk some big boats. So we're all itching. We want to all get on the water. Those of us who have big boats. But there's a few things that we have to do to get ready for that. Otherwise, you might be a sad panda out on that first time in the water. So whether you get your boat shrink wrapped, whether you're just one of those guys that puts your own tarp on it and wraps it, sticks it in your yard, or just lets it fill up with 2 feet of snow over the fucking winter, we still kind of got to do the same thing. So the biggest thing, check your engine. Check your engine when you come in. Whether you hook it up to water, whether you're, use the earmuffs, however you do it, check the engine, make sure it starts. Obvious. That's an obvious thing you have to do. When you put those hopefully you unhooked your batteries over the winter. Yeah. So obviously you need to hook those in. With some of these big boats, with some of these newer bass boats, it is like trying to diffuse a bomb in there. There's so many wires. There's so many different connections. A lot of the newer boats have maps right on there. My suggestion, a little late now, but my suggestion would be take a picture of how all those connections are before you disconnect them at the end of the season, so you have a reference to hook those batteries back up. In doing so, check your connections, make sure there's no corrosion. If there is, get yourself a wire brush, get rid of that corrosion, because it will affect the amount of juice that you get or not give you juice at all. Take it from me. I know, because it happened to me with my last boat. The other thing is, for us tournament guys, a big thing you need to make sure that's working for you is your live well. Make sure all your pumps are working properly in your live well. Check all your all the hoses you can check and you have access to, whether you winterized it, or had somebody else, Chrissy Fishing. She's that person that has her boat filled with snow. I love it. check all your hoses, those water hoses, whether you put antifreeze, some people put antifreeze in them or whatever. There is still expansion. They could have, even the smallest bit of moisture could have, there could have been dry rot, the rodents. If you have, whether you have it in a garage, outside, rodents are huge in boats. I had that issue once with my last boat. I had rodents got in there in the winter. They chewed up a couple wires and whatnot. So that's basically a big thing. The other thing is hopefully you put some kind of fuel stabilizer in your fuel. I know it sounds crazy, but you actually kind of want to keep your tank more full with a good fuel stabilizer. So it helps keeps that water, fuel, all that shit separated. Because otherwise your motor is going to run like shit when you get out there. Obviously check all your electronics. If you're running fish finders, everything, check all your gauges. Just make sure, just go through a checklist in your head. There's a million of them online. Go through all that shit before you get on the water, especially if you fish your first time on your water, you're fishing a tournament or whatever, and something's not working properly. There's nothing worse than that just because you didn't take a half hour to look it over. Another huge thing that people overlook is the trailer. We're not just talking about the boat, so now we got to talk about the trailer, especially obviously your trailer lights, hooking up to your vehicle, make sure all that's safe and sound, but also your tires. Check your tires, make sure there's no dry rot happened. Make sure you have the right amount of, whatever air pressure that the factory requests. Make sure that's all safe and sound, because you do not want to have a tire blowout on your trailer. I've also had that happen. That sucks. Changing a tire on a trailer blows. Luckily I was able to limp mine to a tire repair shop. I was close enough, but trailer's important. Make sure all your straps are good to tie that thing down, and just be safe. Don't get out there and get yourself, in a dead boat, just floating around, not have it. You could be the only boat out there, not having the opportunity to get yourself back to shore under your own power. Just don't be that person. I see it every year, every single, especially those first couple tournaments. There's always that guy who didn't do his due diligence to get his boat ready. And it's an investment. I know more than anyone, it's an investment. Treat your investment well, and get out there and have fun.
It's funny when you talk about batteries. So I got two things here. What are you using for batteries in your boat, Joe? Are you using like lithium cells? Or are you using like more conventional?
So right now I am using more conventional. Yep. My plan is to change to lithium. Yep. My intention was to get lithium when I ordered the boat. However, myself and the dealer forgot to coordinate that, so they ended up just coming with the standard lead acid. Yep. And he's like, "Oh, well, we can order them." But I was itching to get the boat. I was like, you know what? Just give them to me. Just
we'll
give
upgrade
it to me.
later.
I'll run these. But I will say, with all the electronics I'm running towards when I was running that live scope and everything, it does struggle to keep up for long tournaments, especially if it's some choppy water. I'm using spot lock a lot. Yep. So I do need to go to lithium. So I will say that.
And is there any kind of do the lithiums lend themselves a little bit better in between seasons? Are they not as temperamental?
You know what? I don't have enough knowledge on those to where I know that it's
kind of like a new kind of buzz thing. The lithium stuff. And actually, I just got this in from Wild Bill. He sent me. Actually, this is an audio clip of when you were first trying to reconnect your batteries. Let me see if I can play it if this works.
What the fuck?
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes, it's crazy. A lot of people don't unhook their batteries.
Yeah.
And then they don't realize it doesn't matter if you have everything shut off. That's, especially
there's still a drain there.
They're still depleting. They're still draining. I was lucky enough this year I have mine in a heated warehouse.
Yeah.
Where I just put it on the battery tender. So I didn't have to winterize my boat at all. Essentially, it's just sitting on the battery tender, ready to go. But unhook your batteries, make sure you have clean connections. Check the status of your batteries. Yes, make sure all your stuff is properly insured.
It's a big deal too.
From Lauren. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the batteries are a big deal because you're just going to end up buying new batteries every year. So that's like anywhere from $500 to freaking $3,000 a year.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, I don't know 100% how the lithiums hold up when they're kind of in storage versus the lead acid. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I wonder how it is because, like, I hear like Alex Rudd has a deal with X2, and I've heard like Milliken just did brand new. I forget what the brand is that he put in his boat, like all lithium, like crazy. And I'm curious how that plays. Now, is there, as far as boat owners from up north where we are to further down south, some of these folks down south don't necessarily have to winterize their boats or put them away for the season because they're able to keep them out on the water. So it's just more of a regular maintenance.
Right.
Lucky bastards.
They're just going all year round, which is, I wish I had that opportunity. I think a lot of us did. But because there's nothing better than paying a payment on something that's in storage. I know, for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, that's rough, dude. That is rough.
Yeah,
but hey, soon enough, you'll be out there.
That's right,
and it's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Let me ask you the math on that, Joe. What's more expensive? Keep it in storage for a month or 2 months or whatever, or just the gas to drive it out to Cape Cod once every couple weeks? Because you could fish the Cape year round, dude.
You know what? That's a really good point, Sean.
Yeah. So the problem is like for me is once you're running all those pumps and everything, there's water sitting in there. So if I come and I don't have my garage in my house isn't big enough for that thing. Otherwise, I would just store it here.
Yep.
So if I keep that thing out, I got to keep it outside. So then you have that freezing of those lines freezing and shit. So that's why, will I go and fish in this weather? Yeah, fuck it. If there's no ice, I'll go and do it. But I have to what I'm nervous about is those freezing temps still and having an issue with frozen lines on when you have it on expensive, but it's just not worth it for me.
No, it makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fair enough, dude. I totally can get that. Damn. All right. Well, it's about that time. I would say that we had a pretty goddamn good show tonight, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's saying too much. I think we had ourselves one hell of a fine program, and I'm looking forward to a lot of good fishing soon. St. Patty's Day has come and gone. Couldn't be happier. Today was parade day. It's over.
It's
lockdown.
Over. That's right.
Oh yeah, my street, Beirut. There's people parking. There's no rules. It's like Vietnam. There's no rules. Parking all over the place.
Yep.
So I'm glad that's over and done with. But I usually take this annual festivity as a good indication that, like, yes, the good fishing days are on their way. Like, the things are going to start ramping up. Every single week that goes by, we're getting more and more daylight, which is doing good things to get the water temps a little bit warmer. And hopefully we're done with any kind of additional snow or like crazy cold, snaps or anything. That would be great. But I'm looking forward to it. And Chronic Trips, I might enter Chronic Trips just for the 420 bonus.
It is fun. I mean, we're gonna see about the salt. I mean, that's a discussion we all have to have between Jigs and Bigs and Chronic Trips next year. Well, if we're gonna run Chronic Trips in April, it's tough to get on the saltwater.
Yes.
Bite in April in Massachusetts. I mean, there's holdover stripers, but beyond that, be tough. So maybe we have that discussion about a better way to do things next year. We'll see what happens. But
yep, absolutely. Yeah, I don't
Fucking
know.
A.
We'll play around with some stuff, but I mean, I think we've got a great year lined up for it as far as tournament stuff goes with the show. We've got events that we're hoping can happen and be magical and amazing for everybody. Bobby, don't say the S word. Oh, yeah. I have to restrict myself from saying anything about that. I'm just hoping that all that precip is done, unless it's warm. Oh, look at that. Cheryl chimes in. She says, I have a salt charter scheduled at the end of April. Will catches count? Yeah, 100% they will.
Yes. Yep.
100% they will. Especially if you have room on there, get in touch. We would love to join. I don't know what else to say, guys. We have this has been an amazing show. A whole lot of fun. Before we wrap up, again, congratulations to Michael and Lexi down in South Carolina on the new nuptials. Or on the new engagement, working toward nuptials. Remember, as always,
I'm available for booking for wedding DJ and officiant services. BobbyRoastBeef.com.
Just saying. Look at the Bogleys. They're happily married. Baby on the way any day now. This shit's happening. And, do I take a little credit there? I probably shouldn't, but I will. I got nothing else. I think we had a great show talking about preparing, getting ready to get out there, talking about how to be versatile and not lug around literally every single piece of fishing equipment you have for every single trip at every single body of water all the time, constantly. Who knows? How to take better records and why that shit's important. Don't be a dumbass and not get into a kayak ill-equipped. While this water is still kind of dangerous, and what else do we have? I think that's pretty much it, So I'm going to go tie on a mag draft and
Whoa, one last thing.
Oh.
For God's sakes, if you're cutting up jalapenos, wear gloves and don't touch your dick.
Don't touch your dick. Don't, whatever you do not touch your dick. That's about going to do it for us, guys. As always, do me a favor, and if you're catching any fish, tag us in your pics. If you're posting them on Instagram or anything, we'd love to know about it. Tagging us is a good thing. In fact, I think maybe as we get into the season where more folks are out there making some shit happen, I might actually make a little ledger. And as people tag us in their images, I'll go ahead and give them a shout out, Then maybe we'll do a special repost and post a big collection of listeners and their amazing catches. Because, I ain't catching shit yet. It'll happen. I had to drive 15 hours away to have a good day, but I did it. I fucking did it. Anyway.
Hey, there you go.
Gonna wrap this one up, guys. Have a great one, everybody. We appreciate you. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, go ahead and rate and review the show on the podcast platform that you prefer to listen to us on. And as always,
tits and ass sports.
Now we're recording.
What did I miss here? I want to see all the comments now. Bluegills. Hey, Binya, it's 6-inch bluegill. I changed it. After I unsuccessfully drop-shotted worms for them in fucking November in the mountains. When your parents get back for your pee. What line do you use your blade baits? Poor Joe, freshman year all over again. Yeah, pretty much is. Binya Outdoors. So that would make us, what, juniors now, right? We're juniors.
No, I told you you're my two dads.
Yep.
My two dads.
It's true.
Your boat.
The next live show, that's the theme song we're walking out to.
Perfect.
You can count on me. No matter what you do, you can count on me. No matter where you go, I'm standing by.
We have to dress just like him too, though.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get Joe some shoes to like wear on like masonry fucking knee pads.
We'll just get him. Why don't we get him a gimp outfit and we'll drag him around by a leash?
Too much? What?
Oh, God. I love it, man. There is talk of a live show in Rhode Island. And also, I'll give the jig heads a little bit of a heads up. We have a local restaurant near us that does these amazing game dinners, and they have agreed to host the Jigs and Bigs live. And we might actually have some musical entertainment as well. This is I'm talking like Friday. I played some music from a dude who's from the Worcester area, and I've booked him before. His name's James Keys. Awesome 1-man band.
Sounds familiar.
You might know him. He sounds just like Eddie Vedder. Like he really does. He's just the dude. He's good. Just awesome. And yeah, he's got a fucking wild catalog of music. All right.
He's kicking in.
We'll find out. I'm recording. Shit. All right. So
what am I recording?
I am recording.
God damn it. What are we going to do, Jigs and Bigs the musical? We're making a podcast.
I'm Jigs. He's Bigs. I don't know. I had nowhere to go with that. Fucking. Apparently, I'm not as entertaining as Joe. Yeah. We're both fucking pigs.
Fucking dickhole.
Here's our little bitch, Joe. Vacuum out your sack.
All right, rolling. Oops, I guess you got to do some editing. All right, I'm going to do the music for the interview segment, Joe, for this. Mm-hmm. And then once you're done, I'll do like the wrap-up music afterwards.
Yeah.
All right,
it's going to be quick.
All right, we're rolling. We got 3,
2,